Hello and welcome to another quick video from me here. Today I am going to be speaking about how to use CodePen. Now CodePen is an online website. Let's get that here. So CodePen is an online website where you can practice JavaScript without really having to set up any sort of editor or anything like that on your machine. So that is what CodePen really is, and you can see that right now on the screen. Whenever I am taking lessons with my customers or with my batches and so on and so forth, I always make sure that I tell them to use CodePen, especially in the early days of learning. The reason for this is, one thing is that you don't need to set up an editor. Now eventually, of course, you will need to start practicing programming HTML, CSS and JavaScript in VS Code and use the live server extension to run the project on your machine. However, when you're just practicing, when you want to try different things, it will be easier for you to just start practicing directly on your browser. So that is one of the biggest reasons why I recommend that you use CodePen. Another reason why I would recommend using CodePen is because it is easy to share. Okay, now when you're learning programming, you are constantly in touch with your coding tutor, and of course if you're learning on your own, then you are spending a lot of time on websites such as Stack Overflow, where you are searching for answers and you're searching for questions, and you may even have to ask questions whenever you get stuck. Now the thing about a good question, for example, look at a question here from me on Stack Overflow from about 4 years ago or something, is, see, Stack Overflow is a community and there are always people who are trying to help you. Okay, now look at this question now. One person is trying to help me, second person is trying to help me, third person trying to help me, fourth person trying to help me. The entire world has so many people trying to help you, but the important thing is you need to make it easy for them to see what is the issue you're facing, which is very important for developers. And one simple way you can make it easy for other people to help you is to put your code on CodePen. So if you have an issue, the easiest thing you can do is use CodePen to put your code, and then take the link at the top and then just go ahead and put it in your question on Stack Overflow, or just share it with your coding tutor, or maybe if you're part of my free classes or something, we have a Discord server for students. So if you are posting a question on our Discord server or anything like that, then the easiest thing you can do is to put the CodePen link in our classroom, so we can help you. Me and the other students in the classroom, they can help you. So this is another reason why I recommend that you use CodePen, because it is easy to share your code and more importantly, ask questions related to your problem that you're facing. Okay, and of course, when you build something really cool, you can show off as well. So there you go. These are the main reasons why you might want to try using CodePen. So what are the things you need to know about CodePen? So let's get into that. Step number one, as always, you need to make sure that you have a GitHub account. In developer life, obviously you want to go ahead and make sure that you have your GitHub account ready. That is the first step. And once you have a GitHub account, all you have to do is head over to codepen.io, and you should be able to use, you don't need to sign up or anything. Just click on login, and there is the option to log in with GitHub. So that would be your first step. That is the first thing you would do, and the first thing you need to know when it comes to using CodePen. Now, assuming that you got your signed in, you got your GitHub, everything up and running, then the next thing you want to do is create your first pen. So on the left side, you have the link. Okay, you don't need to click on the arrow or anything, that's not required. You can directly just click on the pen symbol, and a new pen will show up on your screen. Now the first thing you want to do is give it a title. So right now I'm just trying to show you. So showing CodePen for video tutorial. Always important to give a title, very important, because I mean, look at my account here on CodePen. I have so many pens being created on a regular basis, so I've never know what each one is. So it's a good idea to take a few minutes to give it a nice name, which gives you an idea what you did and when. Another reason is, there is a search feature. So if I'm looking for projects where I've done some NASA API related stuff, see, I just search for NASA and I get it right here. Or if I've done something related to API, I can search for API, and again, I'm getting a nice API, all the pens which have API in them. So it's very important to give a nice name to your pen. So that'll be your first thing you want to do. And after that, before you start, just hit the save button. Once you give a title, hit the save button. Now there are a couple of reasons why you want to do this. Until you hit the save button, you won't actually get a CodePen URL. So that would be the very first reason why you want to hit the save button. And after that, you have the output area here in the bottom, and you have the HTML area here, CSS area here, JavaScript area here. Now I don't want to type any code, so what I'll do is I'll just go to my account and I will simply take some code. So let's say I'm typing something, then I would obviously have some HTML going on, CSS going on, and JavaScript going on. I'll put this example link in the video description. So let's say I'm typing these things. So I'm going to put the HTML in HTML. I'm going to put the CSS in CSS, and I am going to put the JavaScript in JavaScript. So there it is. So this is what I'm doing. And then as you can see, as you are typing, the output will be updated in the bottom of the screen. And don't forget to hit save either with Control S. There is autosave enabled, but the autosave, sometimes it doesn't happen or there's a delay. So please remember to save, and also you can use Control S. That's another thing you can do. Now, so there you go. This is your basic usage: HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. You can make these things bigger and smaller. Okay, like if you are focusing on HTML, you may want to make it only HTML. If you're focusing on CSS, you may want to make it only on CSS. And if you're focusing only on JavaScript, just drag it and make it bigger, and just keep changing the sizes of these windows depending on what you're doing. Okay, now remember, it is building projects this way is not the most ideal way. Ultimately, you have to use VS Code to build your projects. But this is, as I mentioned, there are a couple of benefits for this, like asking questions, sharing the stuff that you're doing with other students and your tutor and maybe your prospective employers, and so on and so forth. Now, one thing which can make coding a little bit easier is if you could use the entire space, right? So you could make the output window completely gone. And what I like to do is I like to use this small option on the bottom right corner and click on this, which puts the output on a separate window. So plenty of times what I do is I take this output window and I kind of put this output on another screen. Like I have two monitors right now, so I can put the output on the second monitor. So what happens is, now imagine this is on a second monitor. Now I can just focus on the coding itself with more screen space. So when it comes to programming, the more monitors you have, the more screen space you have. Like if you have a 4K monitor, your coding experience will be far more convenient than if you're just trying to code on a 1080p monitor. Same thing with, like if you have two monitors, it becomes that much easier to practice programming than if you're just juggling everything on a single monitor. So I would strongly recommend you have at least two monitors or a single 4K monitor, which is so big, preferably an ultrawide monitor, so that you can keep your code like this, and then you can also keep the output on the right side. So this way you're coding on one end and you're looking at the output on another end. For example, let's say I go here, I have this linear gradient going on. So if I were to make it similar to this and then save it, I will immediately see the output on the right side changing. I think it's become a darker green. So what I could do is, if I were to make this all into 1, 1, 1, 1. 6 letters, 1 2 3 4 5 6, 1 2 3 4 5 6. So if I make this like this, and now I can see the I think I made everything white. Okay, so I'm gonna put it back to how it was. All right, let's come back. CodePen, there will be some delay. Now I'm recording this, you can see that there is some delay going on. So like this, so ultimately what you want to do is you want to keep them side by side and move the windows so you can focus on what you're practicing. Okay, now this is not ideal, but perhaps like if you only have a laptop or you're just starting programming and you haven't had the time or the money to buy a bigger monitor or a second monitor, till that happens, you can always put your output on the right side and keep your code on the left side, move these windows around, and then do your coding. But yes, ideally you should have at least 2 monitors or one big widescreen 4K monitor. So that's another, that's another thing that you can do with CodePen. Now, one more thing which I believe is important with CodePen is, let's say you want to practice. I mean, I have this one here. Now, let's say you want to take this CodePen, like copy it, and then make your own remixes. Well, that is another thing which I like about CodePen. Now, there is an option called fork, F-O-R-K, on the bottom right corner. So all you have to do is, so let's say you want to experiment with this, or I want to experiment right now so that the original does not get messed up. So all I have to do is click on fork, and then CodePen will automatically create a duplicate, a clone pen. It's a completely separate thing. So I could completely mess this up. Like I'll delete the CSS, I'll delete this JavaScript. Everything is messed up, right? It went, look at that, look at that. It became like a dumb HTML only output. But if I go back to my account, my original is still here. So this is a separate clone of the original. So this is very useful. So if you're working on a project and you're doing it one step at a time and you feel like you reached a nice milestone, then if you're afraid that you might mess something up, then a good idea will be to stop your work, keep it as it is, fork your work, and continue on in another CodePen, so that if you like right now, I don't know, I mean, I deleted CSS and I can't get it back, but no problem, I can just get rid of it or close it. I can come back to my original, which is still working. I won't touch this, I won't mess it up. I'll click on fork again and I'll just have another new pen where I can now experiment. So if I want to change the text or something, I want to make this today's title, the video title is how to. So there you go. So another thing you want to do with CodePen is that you have an option to fork the CodePen and make your own remixes without affecting the original. Now this is not the only reason why you want to fork it though. For instance, let's say I want to do something new. So I could go to the CodePen website and I want to look up somebody else's CodePen. So I can just go to the CodePen website and I want to find out how to use local storage, for instance. So now here there are so many people who have put some code on how to use local storage, and I'm looking for local storage. So I want to see if there's a simple crossfading, simple local storage. Oh, there it is. So this person, it seems to have a lot of views as well. There are some heart symbols going on. So I'll open this. And there it is. So he's doing something and he's using local storage to do like a list, which can be starred and stuff like that. You can see here somewhere he'll be using the local storage option. So that looks nice. And now I like this, but you can see here, this is still part of this gentleman, Croco Dylan. Now I want to do some experimentation, right? So what I'll do is I'll go to the bottom right corner and I'll fork this. And now this is under my account and I can make some changes. Like I don't like pancakes, I like superheroes. I could do something like Batman. Okay, I want to do Superman. I want to do Wonder Woman. Okay, and I want to add Spider-Man. Why not? Okay, and there you go. And I don't want extra these two things. I can delete it. And now suppose I want to share this with somebody. I have the link. Further, this is now in my account of CodePen. So this now is part of it's now part of my account. So there is the original work from that developer, and then there is now my work in my account. So this remains in your account. And if I want to experiment further, then I can always fork this again. So now I have a second copy of the first copy, and I could continue to do all kind of experimentations, whatever I want to do. Maybe I don't want the list at all, so I can just delete it and then just go crazy with it, and the original will remain unaffected. So that is another reason why you want to use CodePen. You can fork other developer stuff. I mean, in fact, a lot of times you will learn so much about new things by simply searching what other developers have done about any topic under the sun. I mean, CodePen is fairly popular, and any kind of JavaScript concept you can think of that you are trying to implement in your project, just come to CodePen. There's an example, dozens of examples of every little topic waiting for you to experiment without any risk to your project, and all of this is happening directly in your browser. So there's another reason to use, or that's another thing you can do with CodePen. Now, another question which comes up when I'm teaching programming and I'm using CodePen is, students will ask me, like, how would you take the CodePen code and put it in VS Code on your local computer? Now, there are a couple of ways to do this. Okay, you may want to do this for any number of reasons. Like, let's say you're practicing your project on CodePen and you now have a reason to take the code offline and keep it private or something. Or another reason could be is you have to submit your project, you're practiced on CodePen, and now you have to submit or add it to your GitHub and so on and so forth. So there are any number of reasons where you'll be taking CodePen code and put it in VS Code, and the reverse, which is VS Code to CodePen. Now, there are many ways to do this. The one which I like, I mean, for example, there's an option here. If you go to your CodePen, there is a button here called export, and there is an option to export it as a zip folder. So there is that option. So if you really want to, you can use it. But I personally don't recommend it because I just don't like it. I don't want to get into it. I just don't like it because of the way the code is organized. And during the export process, CodePen seems to add some extra things, which actually makes the project not run properly. So what I do is I do something really, really old school. So even though it's a little long-winded, what I do is when I want to move a code from CodePen to my computer, I simply go ahead and create a new project. CodePen, let me just call this CodePen to VS Code. I know this is long-winded, but when you are learning for the first time, there's nothing wrong in doing things in a long-winded fashion. So I'm going to go ahead and say index.html, then I'm going to create a file called script.js, and I'm going to create a file called style.css. Okay, and then I'm going to come to, I have 3 files. CodePen has 3 files. So I'll go here and I'm going to say, I'll copy this HTML, I'll dump it here, and then I'll copy the CSS. I will dump it in the CSS file, and then I'll copy the JavaScript and I'll dump it in the JavaScript file. That's it. Okay, now when you do this, you have to do 2 extra steps. First step is that you need to make sure that your script is included, and the second step is you need to make sure your style is included. Now, I don't have the styling code here, but I already have the script file, so that is all good. Now what I want to do is I want to add the style sheet as well. So for style sheet, let me just go to WD Schools here. I don't remember how to add it. Oh, hold on, I have AI on my computer, so it should be able to help me. So let's go ahead and do that. Now the AI is not helping me today, so I think I'll have to use WD Schools for this. So I've started using GitHub Copilot in my daily experience, and I'm kind of getting used to it. It does a lot of things that I want to do, but every now and then it'll fail. Like, for example, I simply wanted to what do you say, create this code on how to link style sheet, but it wouldn't help me with that. So it's crazy. It works a lot of times the way you want it to work, but sometimes it simply does not work. Anyway, so there you go. I've added this style sheet here, and now I have everything included. I have included the script file, I've included the style sheet. Now these are the 2 extra steps that you have to do when you take your code from CodePen. I'm going to put that in the slide here. So first thing you want to do is add the style sheet, and then the second thing you want to do is you want to add the script file, because these 2 things are not required on CodePen because obviously they are including it automatically. Let me reduce the font size to something much more manageable. There you go. So remember to include the style sheet, and then remember to include the script file. These 2 lines will be missing when you copy paste from CodePen. Now again, you don't have to do this. There is an option to directly export your project from CodePen, but I'm showing you a very bare bones basic way to get your code out of CodePen. This is long-winded. I'm aware it is long-winded, but I found that when you are learning for the first time, it is really okay if you do something long-winded, so that later when you start using shortcuts, you know why you're using a shortcut. So let's make sure if this is working. So I'm going to click on go live. Okay, I'm using a HTTPS connection, so it's fine. So there it is. Same output I am getting on my online CodePen is now coming on my computer as well. So that is how you would go about moving your code from CodePen to VS Code. Now what about the reverse? So now I have a project I'm working on in VS Code. Now I want to put this on CodePen. So we do the exact opposite. So we go to here, I'll go to my profile. I'm going to create a new pen, and I'm going to give it a title, give it a title like, this is like Hello World, right? Okay, and then I'm going to hit save, and I get the CodePen URL. It's loading. CodePen can get a little slow, especially on the free version. Now I have the CodePen ready. Now your CodePen is ready when you get a link at the top with a unique ID. Now all I have to do is I just have to go to each file. I'm going to copy it as it is, and I'm going to paste it as it is. That's it. Control A, Control C, Control V. That's it. And now I'd save, and that's all. So this is something you'd be doing a lot, especially in your early days of programming, because you want to use CodePen, but at the same time you will be using VS Code also. So this is how you would transfer your code from CodePen to VS Code, and the reverse, vice versa as well. So there you go, folks. That is I think that is all the stuff you need to know about using CodePen. And yes, hopefully that was useful. Thank you.